If you guys are familiar with my Falcon combos for beginner video, then you'll know I told you in the how to hold the controller section
you should be using the C buttons to jump almost always. There is kind of an exception, but I don't think you have to worry about that for now.
Well, it's time to worry about it now because stick jumping is very important. The idea is that a stick jump will take you higher than an equivalent C button jump. And so I'll try to demonstrate that right now. Here's a C button jump on Luigi. It takes me all the way up to the top platform, and I just barely reach it. I just have a tiny moment that I'm falling. Whereas if I stick jump, I'm falling for slightly longer. Now, this may seem ridiculous to you. Who cares about this minute difference? The idea is that a slant hop, when you're running sideways and you press the button, the difference is much more noticeable. So if I'm running sideways and I jump with the C button on Luigi, I do not make it to the top platform, but if I stick hop, I do. So clearly there's something pretty important going on here, and it mostly affects what happens when you slant hop. So I'll show you just some basic stuff about why you should care about this. And the idea on this technique is that the mechanics are very easy, but it takes a ton of game knowledge to know when you really need to do that stick jump instead of your average normal C button jump. Combos come in different forms, and one of the main forms that Captain Falcon uses is his forward air, up B combo. And we're going to see this combo used on two very different opponents, and we'll see that stick hopping can really make the difference in the second case. So when we're comboing a Falcon, we can get both hits of our forward air, and then our up air and our up B will kill. Falcon's a pretty easy character to combo, and so we don't really have a hard time, and this is sort of bread and butter against him. However, if we get up to someone like Mario, we'll notice that although we can get a hit with the second forward air and our up air, he's easily able to jump out of our up B, and so we end up killing ourselves with our own combo, which is obviously very bad. However, if we could get a little bit higher on that first jump, on this forward air right here, if we could get a little bit higher so that Mario is not so high up and he's not able to get out of our combo, we might be able to salvage it. And so that's what we're going to do. Instead of just C jumping and doing our forward air, we're going to stick jump and do a forward air, and you'll be able to see the difference. And here we do actually get the combo. So although it looks like one of the forms that Captain Falcon really likes to use doesn't work on another character, it's something that we can salvage by employing stick hopping.
To understand shield pressure, you really have to understand the property of shield stun. So, in the same way that when you get hit with an attack, you're unable to respond for a while. When you get hit while in your shield, you're unable to respond for a while as well. We call the first property hit stun, and unsurprisingly the second property is shield stun. So I'm going to hold my shield while I get hit by a move with Captain Falcon, and you'll see in the controller in the bottom left corner of the screen, as soon as the move connects, I'll let go of the Z trigger. But you'll notice that my shield doesn't drop for quite a while until after that. This is the property called shield stun. Something a lot of people don't know about. You'll hear a lot of casual players complaining like, oh man, like that was dumb, I was trying to roll, it wouldn't let me roll. And that's because they were experiencing shield stun but not realizing it.
As Falcon suffers shield pressure from Luigi, he realizes he won't be able to get a shield grab or shield jump, so he starts spamming right and rolls out when the pressure fails. However, on Luigi's next attempt, even though Falcon is spamming right to roll out a shield, Luigi is able to keep him in shield stun long enough to break his shield completely. Shield pressure is just like comboing, but with the peculiarity that your opponent isn't moving.
Shield dropping is an important movement option, which allows us to smoothly interact with platforms. The idea here is that if we are holding shield on a platform, we're allowed to tap down and we'll fall through the platform immediately. And this is the idea that we want to leverage for this technique. You might think at first that there's no difference between just tapping down on the thumbstick and shield dropping, but there are two important ways that we can use shields to our advantage. The first is that if we're in our dash animation, we can shield drop while on a platform. This allows us to immediately fall through and we maintain some of our horizontal momentum. This technique is not possible without shield dropping. If you try to dash and just hold down, your character will just crouch and they won't even fall through the platform. So what we want to do instead is dash into our shield and then immediately tap down. And the smoother we do this, the better. You'll notice that even if I let go of the thumbstick right as I shield drop, I still maintain a little bit of that horizontal momentum. This has its uses both for comboing and spacing because it allows us to come off platforms however we want to. But arguably the more important use for shield dropping is in what I'm about to show you. If we do an aerial, one way that we can mess up our Z cancel is to hold the Z trigger too long. This will cause our shield to pop out. We can actually use this as a little bit of an exploit and do it on purpose while we're on a platform so that we can immediately fall through and do another aerial. So it might look something like this. This allows us to get multiple aerials out in a very short time and in a very short space. As we practice this technique, we obviously want to minimize the amount of time our character stays in shield. This is something that you can practice pretty easily in training mode. The fundamentals are quite simple, especially if you've mastered Z canceling, which is why we're releasing this in the video after Z canceling, so hopefully you've had a little bit of time to practice. It's an invaluable technique for applying pressure to someone who's on a platform in their shield, and can also really help characters who have a lot of hit lag on their aerials, such as Donkey Kong, to get combos off. So I'll show you examples of both of those. In general, Donkey Kong is a slow, powerful character. It's often hard to combo with him because his aerials produce so much hit lag that it's difficult to string them together. However, if you short hop underneath the Dreamland small platform, you'll land perfectly on it. This means that by combining short hopping and shield dropping, we can get lots of aerials out in a small amount of time and use this to combo.
When facing a shielding opponent, Captain Falcon is able to shield drop after his neutral air to apply enough pressure to break his opponent's shield.
Pivot edge grab is a really cute movement option, which is easiest if you have a long dash animation or low friction on your dash. So even though theoretically I think the entire cast can do it, really you only see people who are playing Falcon or Luigi do the pivot edge grab. The idea is that if you pivot near an edge, you might get your pivot, but your momentum will cause you to fall off the edge. So now you're facing, inwards. And the idea is obviously that you want to do this near the edge of the stage so that when you fall off, you grab the edge instead. Now, as you see right there, it's not enough just to pivot because sometimes you'll go too far and you won't be able to grab the stage. So what you want to do is as soon as you pivot, fast fall so that your character doesn't float off too far and you can really get the grab that you need. To pivot edge grab, you literally just need to pivot close enough to the edge that your momentum will take you off. With Falcon, I think a good place to practice this is to position your head so that it is right in front of the big berry in the background bush. Then your average pivot will take you the right distance. Don't forget to fast fall, just in case you have too much momentum and you get carried off the stage. After you practice this for a little bit, it'll become pretty natural. You should obviously practice it on both sides of the stage, and I'll also point out that you can pivot edge grab off of the platforms on Dreamland.
After Luigi throws Falcon off stage, he keeps his recovery at bay with a neutral air. Then, when he realizes that Falcon has no options except for the edge, he can pivot edge hog for the kill. Falcon tries a similar thing against Mario. To dodge his fireballs, he does pivot edge grabs and then does an edge hop back air to get Mario off stage. However, I warn you, although this is a very good strategy against Mario, one small mistake on your part and you will die.
Of all the cheesy ways that your opponent can kill you, none is more famous than the DK cargo hold kamikaze. But I'm here to tell you that that never has to happen to you again, because if you learn how to escape mash, then you'll be able to get out of this and other similar situations.
When you're in a static state like on DK's back, the more inputs you press, the faster you'll be released. People have figured out that a really good formula to follow is right with the A button followed by left with the B button over and over. As you'll see here, I get out as soon as I start doing this. I'll show you what I mean.
So we have right A, left B, right A, left B. But we want to do this as fast as possible, so I like to position my thumb over top of both buttons, and that way I can just wiggle it back and forth. And you can get out of everything pretty quickly this way.
Now it doesn't actually matter if you press right with the A button or left with the A button. You just really want to be spamming A and B while you go left and right on the thumbstick. When you're learning escape mashing, it's pretty likely that you won't really have a good idea of the timing, so when your character gets free, you'll still be mashing and a move will come out. And at first this is alright, but if you're in a situation when you're off stage trying to escape mash, like sucked in by Yoshi's egg, it's really important that you stop mashing as soon as you gain control of your character. For example, here, I'm mashing to try to escape Kirby, or if he spits me out, to gain control. But as soon as I do get released, I stop mashing and tech in place. Because what's the point of having control of your character if you don't have control of your character?
Ledge canceling is a weird little mechanic that occurs when you're near an edge, and it happens when you're falling by the edge and you just sort of graze the corner of the edge as you're falling next to it. As you can see, I'm doing this on Fox right now. And the cool thing about ledge canceling is it will cancel all of your landing lag, which means if you're doing it and you're doing an aerial, you can immediately do another aerial as you bounce off. So this isn't much better than Z canceling, except that you can also do it with your special moves, like your up Bs and your your down Bs, stuff like that. The idea is that if you're doing the special move, as you get this little graze going on by the side, like that, then you can do another move immediately. And I would say this is a very high level technique. A lot of players only do it by accident, but some of the really good players will ledge cancel Pikachu's up B to immediately have control of their character after they recover, or Isaiah does it with Link's up B. I'm sure other players do as well. And so it's a pretty cool thing to know about, even if you're not going to use it in your game. However, there's some cool stuff you can do to really easily practice. If you kill yourself on Dreamland as Fox, while you're on this respawn platform, if you hold backwards and start pressing the aerial button, you'll get a ledge cancel every time on the side ledges on the top of the Dreamland platform. So that can help you understand what's going on in the technique. So I hold backwards and just start spamming my aerial, and I get the ledge cancel. And I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard a rumor that you can do a similar thing with all the characters on Dreamland. There's some sort of simple ledge cancel you can do off the respawn platform. So that's a good way to practice the technique a little bit and see if you understand what's going on. But like I said, this is pretty advanced and most players don't bother with it.
People talk about ledge canceling, they're actually talking about two different phenomena. So just to make it more convenient and less confusing, I'm going to call this second one edge canceling. And what's going on here is that when we're in our run animation, we can immediately enter the teetering animation by letting go of the thumbstick right before we come to any edge. Now this only works in our run animation. If we're dashing and we let go, we'll just still fall off. But if we're running and we let go, we'll go teetering animation. And why is this useful? Because if we are running and we want to do a down smash, we have to wait until we stop running to be able to do it. So you don't really do down smash, instead you do up smash or something that comes out immediately. However, you can do anything you want out of the teetering animation, which means if we run ledge cancel, we can immediately down smash or down tilt. Whatever we want to do. Any move that we want, we can do immediately after we edge cancel it. So there's some really cool stuff you can do with this, and I think it's something a lot of people don't really know about too well. You can go edge cancel, crouch cancel, or edge cancel, jab. I mean, there's anything you want to do, you can do. So I'll show you some examples of some cool stuff that you can do, and this technique's pretty easy once you just understand what's going on.
Pikachu back throws Captain Falcon at a decently high percent, realizing too late that he still needs to edge guard. So he runs over and he gets an edge cancel down tilt, fulfilling his destiny as a character. First time I saw this, I thought it was pretty cool, but it actually took me a while to figure out what was going on. So,
If we edge cancel Falcon's run animation, we can do whatever we want. So we dash inwards toward the stage, but only enough that we're in perfect position to pivot edgehog. This isn't actually that hard if you have a decent controller and you're good at pivot edgehog. It's probably one of the flashiest movement options Falcon has, which is cool. You can also do it pretty easily on Luigi, but it's a little less jaw-dropping with him. Before I close, I just want to talk about the things that we've seen so far in the Part 1, Part 2, and Part 3 of the Advanced Techniques Guide. I have them in sections, and I'm calling Part 1 the Fundamental Techniques. These are the things which you really need to master before you can even think about playing Smash at a high level. And out of these, the hardest and most important is tilts. Not only to perform tilts, but also so we can do things like up air without jumping and down air without fast falling. Part 2 I'm calling the essentials, because you simply cannot play at a high level without mastering these techniques. Pivot, short hop, Z-cancel, and tilts are probably the 4 most important techniques in the entire game, and that's the reason that they're in the intro. I'm calling Part 3 the situationals, because these moves are incredibly powerful, but only when used in the right situation, and their proper use is what I think separates the great players from the good.